So who is the heaviest hitter in each division in the UFC? That is what we are going to be discussing in this very video, as I'm going to be declaring who I think is the heaviest hitter in each UFC weight class. So we're going to start with the flyweight division, and then we will end with the heavyweight division. So when we're talking about heaviest hitters, we're talking about when you're in there with this fighter, if you make any false moves, if you make any mistakes, if you get out of position, you are getting clipped and you are getting knocked out. And what all of these fighters have in common is we have seen them shut somebody's lights off in devastating fashion. So without further ado, let's rock and roll right into this thing. Flyweight division. It's got to be Manel Kape. Manel Kape, to me, in a division, right, the flyweight division, what do we think of? We think of super technical fighters, fighters that are very fast, very well-rounded. Manel stands out to me in terms of explosiveness, in terms of speed, and whenever he lands flush, he can shut anybody's lights out on any occasion, right? What he just recently did to Brandon Royval was unbelievably impressive. We've never seen anybody do that to Royval, right? We saw Joshua Van drop Royval late in the fight. We know how good of a boxer Brandon Royval is. Look what Manel Kape did. Move forward and put away Brandon with ease, right? And Manel's one of these guys, he's got 14 knockouts in his career. And every time you see him put somebody away, he's pouncing, moving forward, very light on his toes, and you are just in constant danger at all times against Manel Kape. He's a very dynamic striker, very explosive. We saw him hit that impressive flow state against Bruno Silva. He was able to put him away as the fight started to play out. Manel is one of these rare guys in the flyweight division to where if he hits you clean, he will absolutely shut your lights off and knock you out in devastating fashion. The hardest hitter right here, the hardest hitting flyweight, I think it's got to be Manel Kape. The dude is super explosive and very dangerous. Reminds me of like he's fighting in the Matrix or something, man. Kape's dangerous. Bantamweight, Sean O'Malley. Now, I know that this one could be up for debate, and honestly, I think that this is the one division where I was putting my list together to where I'm like, I don't know. Because I think that Petr Yan and Sean O'Malley are the two best strikers in the weight class, but when we talk about like devastating heavy hitters, like maybe you could say Song Yadong because he's very explosive, but really how many devastating, like really quick, setting you up, stepping into the pocket and crushing you with a big shot, like how many times have we seen that from Song in the UFC? Like we've seen it a few times, right? But we saw Sean O'Malley slide out of the way and beautifully knock out an overextended Aljamain Sterling, right? On the rise, Sean O'Malley was knocking everybody out. And I know it's been a minute since we've seen a Sean O'Malley KO, right? But he was able to hurt Petr Yan. We really haven't seen anybody hurt Petr Yan when it comes to the striking. So I know that when you think of Sean O'Malley, you're not necessarily thinking of, like a heavyweight, Aspinall's darting in, landing a big shot, or, how Jan's setting up these shots, who's more of a volume damage-based guy to where it's an accumulation of damage, to where Sean O'Malley, at least to me, is one of these guys that, yes, it's a lot of setups, pulling you into a shot that you don't see coming. Sean O'Malley, that knee that he landed on Marlon Vera, if that was basically anybody else, they are getting knocked out. So Sean O'Malley, very fast, very twitchy, 11 knockouts in his career. Sean O'Malley, when he knocks people out, they don't fucking move. Sean O'Malley is a devastating power puncher. I think that he's the heaviest hitter in the bantamweight division. But for me, this one that could be up for debate. I know Montel Jackson, I think, has the most knockdowns in bantamweight history, but we haven't seen him in there with some of the best opposition in the world. So I think if the guys that Jackson's dropping and knocking out, I think Sean O'Malley and Yan would put the beats on those guys as well. So Sean O'Malley, to me, the heaviest hitter in this weight class, but to me, not necessarily a clear heavy hitter. In terms of explosiveness, maybe you could say Song. In terms of the damage accumulated, you could say Yan. But that one-shot starching power, that's why I narrowed it down to Sean O'Malley. Featherweight, I got Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez has 11 knockouts, has a devastating spinning elbow KO against Jean Silva, which was just absolutely spectacular, against a super dangerous, high-level, nasty, powerful striker in Jean Silva. We saw him drop Alexander Volkanovski. We saw him literally knock out Brian Ortega with a right hand, and he shouldn't have thrown the left hook because the left hook woke up Brian Ortega. If you watch that fight back, right, when Diego Lopez lands that right hook, boom, basically knocks Ortega out. It looks like Ortega's about to eat the canvas, and then boom, the left hook wakes him back up. So Diego Lopez, in my opinion, I know that we don't know exactly for sure. I think that he would have had a starching KO over the long-time, super durable, one of the toughest fighters ever in Brian Ortega. Diego Lopez, nasty power. Now, I will say this, in the featherweight division, we got some heavy hitters in here, man, right? Larian Douglas on the rise. Can't necessarily put him up there yet because, he just fought Juicy J. It was very impressive, right? Dropping him, basically knocking him out with jabs, which is very impressive. I think he's a guy that we could potentially see as being the heaviest hitter at 145, but I want to see it against the top flight competition, right? Steve Garcia, you could say as well. They got a big fight coming up against each other at Freedom 250. Garcia has a ton of KOs, man, knocking a ton of people out. But if you look a little bit deeper into a lot of the guys that Garcia is knocking out, I feel like Diego Lopez could run through a lot of those guys and put them out as well. And you have to remember with Diego, very, very high-level submission skills. So there's been those times where he'll knock a guy down, and instead of putting him away, with a shot, he'll hop on a limb, be able to get you out of there with the submissions. He's got 11 knockouts. We've seen Diego Lopez, excellent counter-striking in his hands, big winging hooks, dangerous uppercuts and knees in close. I think Diego Lopez is the heaviest hitter at 145. And I think Kevin Vallejos could potentially be up there as well. We saw him destroy Josh Emmett. We saw him put away Giga Chikadze, so a little bit tougher for me as well in the featherweight division, but I'm going to go with Diego Lopez. We've seen it at the highest of levels and him put away some very, very game opposition. Diego, to me, is unbelievably dangerous, man. Lightweight, it's Ilia Topuria, and it's only Ilia Topuria. There's really no debate here. I know that Gaethje hits hard. I know that, Charles Oliveira hits really hard, landed a really good elbow against Ilia. Oliveira dropped Gaethje badly with a right hand. I understand it all. Ilia Topuria's boxing is elite. His technique is perfect. His timing, his speed, the way that he's able to close the distance and throw in combinations. When you flatline Alexander Volkanovski with an overhand right, you're the only person to do that to Volk, right? We saw Islam, catch Volk with a high kick, which was a beautifully set up high kick, right? Going to the leg, to the body, and then eventually bringing it upstairs. It was beautiful. He did not put Volk out like what Ilia did. And then to go out there and be the first person to knock out Holloway, that's just unbelievable, right? Landed massive shots on Holloway, rocked him a couple times in that fight, and then eventually was able to find the left hook and put him away, right? That big right hand down the pipe, right? Pulled the guard down right hand, was able to rock him. Left hook eventually dropped Holloway, right? And then to go out there and flatline Oliveira, throw the jab upstairs, jab to the body, pulled Oliveira into range, and then bang, sniped him with a beautiful right hand right down the middle. Ilia Topuria folded Charles Oliveira like a lawn chair. We've never seen anybody do that to Charles, man. The hardest hitters that we've seen at 155 that landed big shots on Charles, it was just Charles would go down, play the game. He's like, you're not going to come into my guard. I'm so much better than you on the ground. So guys would get scared. Charles would battle back into the fights. There's none of that against Ilia Topuria, and that's why I thought Ilia would flatline Charles in the first round. Charles would move forward into range. You cannot get hit clean by Ilia Topuria, clearly the heaviest hitter at 155. The power, the technique, the dude is a different breed, man. He's the heaviest hitter at 155. 170, it's Carlos Prates. Right? Oh, and by the way, Ilia Topuria's 7 KOs. It's pretty crazy, right? Because he's been on this crazy KO streak, the greatest 3-fight win streak of all time, about to fight Gaethje. I think he can add to that and make it the greatest 4-fight streak of all time. Only 7 KOs. A guy that was known for his grappling and submission skills to now knocking out legends of the game and some of the best strikers we've ever seen. Crazy impressive. Carlos Prates, 19 knockouts, devastating Muay Thai skills. And the only guy that has basically been able to tell the tale, live to tell the tale, is Ian Gary, right? And he battled some adversity late in that fight to where Prates almost got him out of there. But I think if you run a rematch, I think Prates just might be able to get Ian Gary out of there. But either way, Carlos Prates is the heaviest hitter in this weight class. The only person to knock out Leon Edwards, right? I know Uros Medic just put away Jeff Neal, but up before Prates did it, there was nobody that had done Jeff Neal like that. And Prates was the first to do it. So essentially, Uros Medic got maybe a shell of Jeff Neal and maybe not the same guy. And I know Medic is very dangerous early, but Carlos Prates is the nastiest dude in this division, man. He's got crazy power in the left hand. His kicking game is nasty. The knees up the middle. Everything that Carlos does is with bad intentions. He's the heaviest hitter in this weight class. If he hits you clean, you're going out. Look at the knee to the body that he hit Radke with, was able to put him away. We've never seen anybody knock out the Leech the way he did. That shotgun of a left hand down the pipe, knocking out Jeff Neal with the spinning elbow, putting away Leon Edwards with the straight left hand, knocking people out that we had never seen KO'd before. Carlos Prates is the heaviest hitter at 170 pounds. And I know Morales hits hard. We saw what he did to Sean Brady. Not like Carlos Prates. Prates is different, man. Middleweight, it's Joe Pyfer. And I know that you could say, well, it's Atiba Gauthier. I need to see it against some good opposition, right? Joe Pyfer did flatline Diaz, who Atiba Gauthier just put away, and Joe Pyfer did it, I think, easier and did it faster. Joe Pyfer is the hardest hitting 185er, possibly even the hardest hitting 185er that we've ever seen. This guy to me has heavyweight power. And I know that Adesanya, which we know Adesanya's got the cat-like style. He's hard to get to, especially early in the fight. For some reason, he decided to brawl with Joe Pyfer. And that was a little bit of a fatigued Joe Pyfer. One that Adesanya was fighting very well in the beginning against, right? He was chipping away at the legs. Pyfer looked like he was kind of not slowing down, but breathing a little bit heavy to where some of the power might have been zapped. He still landed some big shots on Izzy. And we know Izzy's very durable. He's actually got a great chin. But we've seen Joe Pyfer dang near knock out Kelvin Gastelum. We've never seen anybody really do what this dude was doing to Kelvin Gastelum. It was crazy. And I know Gastelum battled back into the fight. I know Adesanya was able to drop Gastelum, later in their, absolute war. But Joe Pyfer, he's just a heavy hitter, man. This is the definition of a heavy hitter. And we've seen him do it against really good opposition. We saw him rock Abus Magomedov badly. Anytime Joe Pyfer lands that massive right hand on anybody, if you get hit, you're going down, you're going out. I think he's got the most one-shot starching power at 185 pounds. The most high-level striker? No. He's a strong guy. If he lands clean, especially with that right-handed overhand right that he was spamming a little bit too much early on, Joe Pyfer, he's got the power to put anybody away. 10 KOs in his career. Atiba Gauthier is looking like that monster, but from what I've seen right now at a higher level against better opposition, Joe Pyfer got to be that guy. The way he put out, GM3, the way he put out Marc-Andre Barriou, guy's dangerous, man. Light heavyweight. I got two guys here because Poatan's moving up to heavyweight to fight Cyril Gane. So I don't know if he's going to come back to light heavyweight. So I kind of have him in this, like he's still at light heavyweight phase because we don't know if he's going to return or not. But so that's why I got two nominations here. But to me, straight up, if he was, comes back to 205 or he was staying at 205, Poatan's the heaviest hitter at light heavyweight, right? 11 knockouts in his career. And we know that when that left hook lands, it knocks people the hell out, right? He's got nasty high kicks, tons of power in that right hand, was able to put Magomed Ankalaev down. But really, it's that left hook. If that left hook lands clean, he's knocking anybody in the world out, regardless of weight class. I've been saying it for years. Poatan's a guy that has very, very different power. But if I'm counting Poatan as a heavyweight, and he's kind of gone from the 205 division, next up would be Carlos Ulberg, right? With 9 knockouts, a super technical striker, very precise, has a nasty left hook as well, right? We saw him put away Yuri Prohaska, that pullback, right? That nasty right hand that he landed on Dominic Reyes, was able to put away Alonzo Menefield, who's a durable guy with some good uppercuts, good timing. Carlos Ulberg, very nasty, very dangerous on the feet. I think that he's the hardest hitter at 205. And I get that it's 205. There's a lot of heavy hitters, right? Volkan Özdemir's got some power. Khalil Roundtree's got some power as well, especially early. Ankalaev in his hands can put guys away. Yuri Prohaska, but I got to go Ulberg with the precision, backed by that crazy power. We've seen him put several guys away throughout his UFC career. I think Ulberg, heaviest hitter, given the fact if there's no Poatan at 205. But if Poatan comes back to 205, or we're classifying him as a 205er, it's clearly Poatan, but Ulberg right there as well. Last but not least, it's heavyweight. It's got to be Derek Lewis. And I know people are going to say, well, it's Tom Aspinall, it's Sergey Pavlovich. Those guys, to me, are better fighters than Derek Lewis. And both of them, I think Aspinall would dominate Derek Lewis. We've already seen Pavlovich beat Derek Lewis. I understand that. Derek Lewis is one of these guys where he doesn't win by decision, really. Derek Lewis, when he has knocked people out, it's scary when he knocks people out. It's devastating KOs. When Pavlovich knocks guys out, there's some terrifying moments where guys are out, they're scrambling, the ref steps in, Aspinall puts guys away, they're kind of scrambling around, they're out, the ref steps in. When Derek Lewis knocks people out, the referee better dive on the opponent and get in the way. Otherwise, ground and pound shots are going to be raining down ferociously to guys that are already out. Derek Lewis's power is different. We saw it against Curtis Blades when he landed that uppercut when Blades shot a naked takedown, right? Kind of just dipped his head, came in. Lewis buried him with an uppercut. The right hand that he landed on Volkov, 24 knockouts, the knockout king for a reason. Derek Lewis, to me, is the heaviest hitter that we have seen at heavyweight. I know Ngannou at one point, you could say that, right? Especially a ton of the highlights that Ngannou had. Aspinall, to me, fast, darts in, closes range very, very well. But when you go at heavyweight and you look at the guy that's the most devastating hitter if they land clean, I think that it is absolutely Derek Lewis. I'm not saying that he beats Aspinall. We've already seen Pavlovich beat him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in terms of the heavy hitter ability, a guy that has put away numerous dudes, and when he lands, they are out cold. That is Derek Lewis. That is why I have him as the heaviest hitter. But I see how you could say Aspinall. I see how you could say Pavlovich. Those are the other two that come to mind when it comes to devastating power at heavyweight. We get it's heavyweight. Everybody's basically got power to put you away. But I think Derek Lewis, the knockout king for a reason, 24 KOs. And when he knocks people out, they don't fucking move, man. Derek Lewis, the heaviest hitter in heavyweight.